AI animation. And then you can see some of the other topics that are there, and we'll touch on those in a little while. Um, but I just wanted to show you that to say that even though this call is designed to be a very simple beginning call, there is a lot of training already available in the AI Academy if you want to go deeper. So we're going to kick off. James is in the UK, and he is a amazing expert in digital work and digital ministry. And so James is going to walk us through this big world of chatbots. And as well as what he's going to do tonight, he made about 5 or 6 different videos on the AI Academy YouTube channel that goes into great depth about chatbots as well. But thank you, James. Take us through how does a chatbot work and show
Cool,
us.
cool. I'm going to share my screen. Let me just get my window open here. So hopefully you can all see my web browser now with ChatGPT open. And I was originally thinking that I would do this as a PowerPoint just to try and get some of those key concepts across to those who are new to AI. But it struck me that it would actually be much more relevant and maybe more instructive if we do this live with ChatGPT. So um, we're going to start in this window here. I've got some other windows, other tabs across the top here, which we'll also look at. But I want to start off in this window here, and we're basically going to get ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a chatbot created by OpenAI. OpenAI was one of the first companies to really get into creating public level chatbots, which are useful to the general public. So we're going to try a couple of things here, and then we're going to kind of take a step back and try and understand a bit more about what's going on. So let me just paste this in here. So the way that ChatGPT and any of these chatbots work is a little bit like Google in the sense that you get a window where you can type in your question. There are a number of controls, which we'll go through in a moment. But you'll see here, I've just posted in my opening question saying I'm about to lead an online training session on how to use chatbots. The audience will have varying levels of experience, but may be complete beginners, likely primarily interested in how they can use chatbots in professional lives, working in Christian ministry, and also personal lives. So let's see what ChatGPT comes back with here. Okay. Oh, right. So the ChatGPT is already giving me. I was saying to Sai before we started this that it's very difficult to rehearse this with a chatbot. You don't know exactly how it's going to respond. I wasn't expecting it to jump straight in with these sessions. Let's just say, hold your fire. Let's say, please introduce yourself and explain what AI is. Okay, so here's ChatGPT saying, I'm a chatbot created by a company called OpenAI. I use a kind of technology called artificial intelligence, or AI for short. And AI is a computer program that can learn patterns from huge amounts of information like books, websites, conversations. You can think of AI as a very smart assistant. Now, so something to bear in mind with chatbots and with AI generally is that they have access to a huge amount of data. So it's talking here about books, websites, and conversations. That's all true. It's maybe slightly difficult to get your head around quite how vast that is. ChatGPT and any of these other chatbots will know and understand all of Wikipedia. They'll understand every university textbook, every research article that's been posted onto the internet. There are some limitations as to what they can read, but their knowledge is generally probably 95% complete in terms of the sum of human knowledge. So they're very, very powerful. There are definitely some drawbacks, which we'll come to. I'm just going to ask ChatGPT to give 15 to 20 different applications of chatbots so that we can understand what some of these potential different uses are. Okay, so let's look at what ChatGPT is saying here. So ministry and faith-based work, lesson and sermon planning, creative Bible engagement, translation support, newsletter creation, personal and family life can help with meal planning, storytelling, travel planning, productivity and creativity. So a lot of different applications. And you'll see if this might be a good point actually for me to just dip into some of these controls. We will pause for questions. I'm just going to get through these first few bits. If we go to explore GPTs, you can see here that we've got a number of different custom version of ChatGPT. So here you can choose a particular flavor of ChatGPT. So you might want to have somebody help you create a website or a logo, or to help you in a particular computer programming language. Or you might want somebody to help you with doing some copywriting for marketing or ads, or to help you with a prompt to create an AI video. So there are all of these different models. You can think of these as AI models. You don't have to use these. And you can also create your own. If you click on create up here, you can configure it with, you can name it, you can give it kind of precise instructions as to what you want the chatbot to deliver. You can give it guidance as to what kind of capabilities it's got, and so on. So yes, you've got lots of these different models. You have your chat history down the left-hand side here. This works slightly different for different chatbot models. Again, we'll look at that in a moment. And then you'll see here that if I click over here and go down to settings, this is useful to know, that you can choose how to manage your archive chats, what kind of personalization you might want, data controls, connected apps, and so on. You can connect it to your Google Drive so that it can reference documents that you've uploaded there. So they're very, very capable, but at its most basic, you only need to let's just go back one. Let's open here, go back here. You only need to start with this window here, and you can also do a temporary chat. So if you don't want it to appear in your chat history, if it's not something you're interested in keeping, it's just like a quick query that you've got, then you can use a temporary chat. Okay, so we asked ChatGPT about different applications. Now let's say, could you give me some detailed information on how to write the most effective prompts for chatbots? So a prompt is an instruction. This here is a prompt. And the art of writing an effective prompt is the key thing that you need to kind of develop as a skill to in order to make the best use of chatbots, because it unlocks a huge amount of power. So, oh, here we go. It can make a huge difference in the quality of responses you get from chatbots like me. Below is a practical guide. So you need to be clear and specific. So instead of a question like, tell me about history, you can be much more specific and say, give me a summary of the causes and consequences of the French Revolution in less than 200 words. Context helps to tailor the answer for particular needs or audience or tone you're aiming for. So for example, you could say, I'm a high school teacher preparing a 10-minute lecture. Can you explain the basics of photosynthesis using simple language and include a metaphor? And there are a number of other tips here about how to create those prompts. So So you'll see that it's quite detailed. There are lots of different elements to this, and this is actually a very useful thing to remember. And we'll copy and paste this into the WhatsApp groups. But having this formula is a very good approach. Act as a role. I need help with a particular task for a particular audience. Please keep to such and such a format or style, keeping in mind these constraints. So it's that's a good structure to have. The other thing that is useful to understand is that unlike with Google, where you type in your question and you get a response and that's it. I mean, obviously you get a lot of responses. With a chatbot such as ChatGPT, it can be a conversation. So if you don't get the response that you're looking for first time round, then you can ask follow-up questions. You can refine what your prompt is. You can even tell ChatGPT to completely regenerate its response to your original question, hoping that you might get something different. But you can have a conversation with it in exactly the same way that you might have a conversation with me about something you were talking to me about. Okay, so the other thing that I want to touch on here, and then we're going to get into some kind of specific ministry examples. But before we do that, I just want to ask ChatGPT to give an overview of some of the limitations and dangers of using chatbots or using AI more broadly. Okay, so limitations of chatbots and AI, hallucinations. So AI is incredibly confident. It doesn't seem to have any self-doubt at all, which is quite remarkable. So even if it doesn't fully understand something, or if there's a gap or a misunderstanding in its knowledge, it will give a very plausible answer, which could be completely false. So you do need to take everything with a degree of skepticism and ensure that you're looking for sources. Make sure that you've checked, given it a kind of a common sense check. Lack of true understanding. AI doesn't understand content the way that humans do. So the way that AI has worked up until this point, and it's starting to change, but the way that it has worked up until this point is it predicts language patterns. So it because it has read all of these sources, it's gathered all of these sources across the internet. It can predict what the most likely responses are to a particular sequence of words. And because its knowledge is so vast, it does that in a very effective way. AI is now beginning to progress a little bit beyond that. So the newer models, which coming through, are actually more based on reasoning than on those language patterns. But still, there is very much a danger that they will miss nuance or context or what the emotional subtext is. Context limitations, biases in outputs. I'm going to skip through these because you can always look at these later. Ask the question to ChatGPT yourself. Broader dangers of AI use. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things here that you might have seen in the news about job displacement. How does it affect people's livelihoods, privacy risks, AI being used maliciously? Maybe that's with deep fakes, with fake news and so on. And then we've got some principles here for using AI responsibly. And very soon we're planning to do a session on AI ethics, actually. So stay tuned for that. We've already got a number of resources, which I will refer you to here. So we've got the Max 7 AI Academy. If you go to the playlists here, you'll see that we've got recordings of previous Zoom calls, how to use AI. I think those are the ones that, those are the ones that I did. So there's lots of chatbot training in there, but it goes a little bit beyond chatbot training. How to boost your creativity, AI video examples, and so on. then it's also worth looking at the AI Academy on Max 7, which has got a link to the introductory videos, the training manuals, written resources, and so on. And then if you go to GCF Community, to the events and Max 7 AI Academy, you can see we've got FAQs and AI glossary. We've got a list of tools here where you can search for chatbots or animation, filter them by free or whatever. Okay, let me just pause there for a moment because I don't know if I'm going really over time. I could go into a ministry example, but I don't know how we're doing for time.
Yeah, go for it, James.
Okay, all right. So let's start putting some of this into practice. Okay. So I've posted in a prompt here, and this is a good example of how to create a good prompt. We're giving the chatbot some context. We're asking it to specialize in a particular way. You're an experienced Christian ministry leader specializing in working with children and young people. You need to create a 20-minute session for 10 to 11-year-olds looking at Beatitudes. So this is a very, very focused prompt. First step in planning this session, please explain the Beatitudes in a contemporary way that will be relevant and inspiring to 10 to 11-year-olds. Okay, let's see what ChatGPT comes up with here. Okay. So first of all, it's talking about the big idea. The Beatitudes are like Jesus' upside down rules for living. So instead of saying the best people are the richest, strongest, or most popular, Jesus says that God's blessing is for people who are kind, humble, and trust him, even when life is tough. And then we've got a breakdown of each individual Beatitude with a kid-friendly explanation. So blessed are the poor in spirit. God loves people who know they need him. You don't have to pretend to have it all together. It's okay to ask God for help. He's always ready to listen. And then ChatGPT goes through those different Beatitudes. And you've got a key message. ChatGPT is then offering to turn that into an engaging session plan with games, storytelling, and a group discussion. Okay, so let's follow that up. So this is where you're going several steps beyond what Google can do. If you're lucky, you might get a link to a page on Google where somebody has already created a resource like that Google has figured is the answer to your question. But now with using a chatbot, we can actually post follow-up questions. So now please create an age-appropriate discussion guide that we can use with these children in facilitated groups of 3 to 4. Okay, so small group discussion guide, living the Beatitudes, 10 to 12 minutes for discussion. Each group receives a Beatitude card. You have a warm-up question, a card activity, some Beatitude questions, such as why do you think Jesus says this kind of person is blessed? These are some nice ideas here about having Beatitude cards, and then some wrap-up questions. Okay, then let's adapt that even more. Oh, we've got an optional add-on there. So you will often find this with chatbots. They will often ask follow-up questions to you as well, just trying to keep the conversation moving. So, of course, you could respond to this and say, yeah, make me some printable versions of Beatitude cards or a cheat sheet. But what we're going to do is ask ChatGPT to specifically adapt this content for working with children from broken homes or who've experienced significant trauma in their lives. So let's see what. Okay. So this is good. Children from broken homes or traumatic backgrounds may hear messages about love, peace, or blessing very differently. They may struggle to feel that trust, that safety, believe they're blessed at all. And then there's a more emotionally safe, trauma-informed approach to discussing the Beatitudes. So this is really cool, actually. A gentle wrap up. Okay. I mean, what you could do here, you could also customize this for children who have, for example, learning difficulties, children whose first language is not English. You could get ChatGPT to translate this into Arabic or French or Spanish or whatever. You could ask ChatGPT to create a brochure for these sessions for you to advertise. In fact, let's just do that. Let's say, yeah, let's paste this in. So I'm creating a brochure. Let's change that for this session. The page I'm working on, section outlining the benefits of attending. I'd like you to write 5 benefits attending. So this would be some promotional material that you might write to the parents of these children. Target reader will not necessarily be familiar with Christian faith, so your content should be clear and avoid jargon. Let's see what ChatGPT comes up with here. Okay, 5 brochure-friendly benefits, safe and welcoming space, encouraging positive values. So again, this is at a fairly high level. It's an overview of what content you could include in that brochure, but you could drill down into a lot of detail with ChatGPT there, and ask how to kind of turn that into word-for-word content even. Obviously, there's a lot we've gone through just there. There may well be some questions to that. I haven't been able to look at the chat whilst I've been talking. One of the things I want to emphasize is that I talked earlier about the need to give things a sense check, particularly in terms of handling the Bible, which I think Sai or others might talk about in a moment. You need to be careful. ChatGPT is a machine, very knowledgeable, but it doesn't have those human qualities that we would expect from a human pastor or a Christian leader or a minister and so on. So do give these things a sense check. Now, we've talked a lot about ChatGPT here. There are also other models such as Claude. I actually use Claude an awful lot. I use it more than ChatGPT because Claude is particularly good at technical assistance. So my job is building websites and helping nonprofits to be more effective online. So when I'm trying to figure out how to solve a technical coding problem, I tend to use Claude. It's better than ChatGPT at that. But you may also have heard of Gemini, which is Google's equivalent. You may have heard of DeepSeek, which is a newcomer onto the scene, and is actually much cheaper to run than the other chatbots. Most of these chatbots are available at a limited level for a free pricing plan, so you don't have to pay any money. But as soon as you start going over a certain amount of messages a day, or you start wanting to use more advanced models or to do more advanced tasks, then you might need to be on a paid plan. Of course, if you're using a number of these, then you can flip between them and make the most of those free plans. Yeah, I think I'm going to pause there for the moment. That's a lot to take in. Yeah. What should we do now? Any questions? Did somebody want to talk about Bible handling?
Yes, I'm about to, but Charisse or Alan, are there any questions that we need to jump to now?
There are. Maybe one that connects well with what James was just saying. Sridhar from the USA wants to know how much ChatGPT can be trusted with personal data when you include it in your prompt. So as a follow-on question, can you build a private space that you can load your own knowledge base to operate the chatbot that does not get into ChatGPT's public domain?
Okay, that is a brilliant question. Firstly, the short answer is no, you can't trust personal data in any chatbot. if you have confidential information that you want to get perspective on, then I definitely encourage you to anonymize that. Use different names, use different countries, change some of the non-important context of the question. That most chatbots will use the input that is given to them as further training material. So there are some chatbots where you have the ability to switch that off, but again, it's unlikely you'd be able to do that on a free plan. You'd probably need to be on a paid plan. There is one area which we can talk about in greater detail, maybe on another call, which is Notebook LM. So Notebook LM is a Google tool, and it's like a chatbot. It includes a chatbot, but it also gives you what I would call a walled garden. It allows you to build walls around what your resources are. So with this particular project that I'm running in Notebook LM, I've loaded up all of the chapters of the AI Academy training manual, which you can find over here. You can download these as PDFs. So I think we've got 9 different chapters here, some of which are on prompting, generative art, AI video creativity, Bible handling, and so on. So I have uploaded those PDFs into Notebook LM. And once those are there, you can then query, you can have a conversation with Notebook LM, and it will only use the information from these resources. So it can be a very effective way of ensuring that that the responses you're getting are from a very specific context. There's some amazing things that you can do with Notebook LM. You can get it to generate an automated podcast. There's a great thing in here. If we get 30 seconds at the end, I can play you an extract of this, where there's 2 AI voices which are having a conversation about the AI Academy manual. So yeah, that's certainly possible. If you want to keep it in a walled garden, then yes, using something like Notebook LM would be good. But in essence, don't trust personal data. Certainly don't put anything that would put anybody at risk into a chatbot.
Brilliant. Thank you, James. We've got one more question from Katie, which kind of builds on that a little in terms of that healthy skepticism. But the question really is about how do we fact check when we don't have specialist knowledge in an area? So Katie gives an example of, say, working with children from a trauma background, and you're getting data through ChatGPT or another chatbot. What's your advice, and maybe this is for you or Sai, around fact checking when you're not a specialist in that area?
So, I mean, there are 2 things I would quickly say. First is ask your chatbot to cite its sources. Most chatbots will do that. Some are better than others. Claude is excellent at that because it incorporates web search directly into its answers. So it will be able to say, I got this information from this website, and you can then go off to that website and check it. The other thing I would recommend, which I often do actually, is using several different chatbots and asking them the same question, and seeing how those responses compare. Googling things as well. It's about cross-checking. I think the biggest danger of using AI is to use it as a one-stop shop. It is only ever a tool in your toolbox. So in the same way that you would treat any source on Google with an amount of skepticism, and you'd want to cross-check it, you do exactly the same with chatbots. What do you think, Sai? Anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, no, I think that's, and I've used that too. If I've read something, go, wow, that's crazy. And you do put that same fact into Google, you can then see what kinds of websites would back that up. So that's what I often do. And when you then look at the types of websites, you can then go, okay, yes, I think they look trustworthy. So you do need to just keep that in mind, particularly if it's something that you think, oh, that's amazing, or I've never heard that before, but use your wisdom and be careful, I think, just about Never just use something from a chatbot, copy and paste it without reading it and being cautious about what it is. That's another aspect.
Amazing. I think those are fantastic answers to the questions. Um, I think if there are no other questions, Sai, we're ready to jump to the next part of our call, which is generative art, including Bible images. Is that good?
Well, I'm just going to quickly show you this, which builds on what James has said and gives a very, very, very quick taste of Bible handling. And this is about how you create a prompt. So in fact, I'll just go backwards for a second here, and touching on what James said, that one aspect when you're using a chatbot is to tell it what it is. The challenge is that because it knows all the information across the internet, when you ask a simple question, it doesn't know whether you are asking it as a school teacher, you're asking it as an 8-year-old child, you're asking it because you're a PhD student. It's going to just give you a predictive answer. So that comment that you pointed out, James, of do the act as, you tell the chatbot what you want them to be. So if I'm asking a Bible question, I do two things. One, I customize my ChatGPT. In the settings, you go and you tell it, where you live, what sort of theology you have, what your group is, anything about you that's going to help ChatGPT answer in a better way. But in your prompt, you say, for example, I might say, you are a Reformed Bible teacher. So I want an answer that comes from a position from the Bible that believes that the Bible is true, that's focused on grace, that's focused on Jesus. So I might say, you are a Reformed Bible teacher, and then I ask my question. Or I might have a scientific question. You are a world-renowned scientist specializing in chemistry, and then ask my question. Or I use this one all the time when I'm trying to come up with ideas for videos. You are a Pixar-trained Hollywood animator, and I'm trying to come up with a set of prompts for some design that I'm doing or a storyboard. So suddenly it's going to answer me from a position where it's got the skill of an animator. Or you're a very funny and successful children's author, and I want to write a story about whatever. So that's a very important thing. But then it comes down to writing the prompt. So I've tried this. And if I say to ChatGPT, can you give me a Bible lesson for children about David and Goliath? First up, it will know that it comes from 1 Samuel 17. It'll work that out, and it'll give me a reasonable answer. But when I've tried it, what it tends to do is that the application will be probably or possibly a very moral application. It might say something like, this is a great story. David trusted God. Next time you face a giant, then stand up to the giant, and God will help you knock it over. And that might be what you think that Bible story is about. But I tend to think that it's got a bigger message that fits into a bigger plan of God's salvation. So I want to tell the chatbot that. So if I want to handle the Bible well, then I need to start to apply some of the same principles that you would apply when you're reading the Bible itself. So here's an example. Instead of asking that question, I'm going to frame the prompt. And you will get a lot of good information in the AI Academy manual, both the prompt chapter, but also the Bible handling chapter that goes into great depth on this. So instead of asking that question, how about I do it this way? I am doing a children's Bible lesson from a Reformed theological perspective. And in fact, I believe that the Old Testament stories always have an aspect of pointing towards Jesus. And then I'm going to say something like, I might download one of the lessons I like from Mac 7 that a human wrote and say, could you read this Bible lesson and follow the same template? Because I want a Bible lesson that looks a bit like that. And then I might say, oh, by the way, 50% of my kids have special needs and they have short attention spans. And by the way, I'd like to include some good learning games in the lesson. So I framed my question around who I am, my context, my theology. I could even say what version of the Bible I want to use. I would also add there what age my children are and more information. And then I would say, now, can you give me a lesson for children about David and Goliath from the CEV version of the Bible? So that's framing a prompt. That's a really good way of getting a better answer. And all right, I won't demonstrate this now. You'll find a demonstration on the Academy YouTube channel, but the new Mac 7 builder, if you type mac7.org/builder, you'll get to a new site that helps you write programs and games and quizzes. And it's already framed for you. So some of that's behind the scenes. But anyway, then when you think about good Bible handling, and we went into this in quite a lot of detail in some of the AI Academy calls, is to also use the chatbot in a way that is appropriate. So, for example, I don't think I would use a chatbot to write a sermon for me. I think that's probably my job to pray and listen to the Holy Spirit and read the Bible to then know what I need to speak to people about. However, a chatbot might help me a lot with researching a Bible passage or giving me ideas or comparing Bible passages across the whole Bible or giving me a little bit of background. So here's a good example of ones that I've actually tried. I was mentoring a pastor friend of mine, and we were looking at John together, and we were looking at John chapter 3. And this is the part where Jesus doesn't go up to the festival and then he comes later. And I knew a bit about the festival in John 3, but I couldn't remember the details. So I asked ChatGPT, could you explain to me the history of this Jewish festival mentioned in John chapter 3? And then what significance did it have to what Jesus was doing? And it explains in an amazing way this festival that any Jewish reader would have understood, but me living in Australia didn't know anything about. And suddenly it also explained that in this Jewish festival, one big aspect of it is a water ceremony. And of course, in John chapter 3, Jesus says, I am the living water. So suddenly ChatGPT helped me to understand the context of that chapter in a way that the Bible itself didn't tell me, because it was written to Jews and they would have understood it. So John doesn't explain that. Now, a commentary might have explained that to me, or a Bible college might have explained that to me, but a chatbot helped me with some of that information that I didn't have. A chatbot's really good at explaining the original Greek meanings of words, where you say, explain that to me. Tell me what the Greek word is for that, and what does it mean, and what's the context. Or this last one is, don't just tell me what the verse is, but help me to understand how this fits in to the context of the book that it's in and into the whole message of God's salvation story. So you can ask all sorts of questions, and in the Bible handling manual, there are a lot of examples there. So that gives you just a bit of a taste. And I was doing this for my Sunday school group a little while ago on the parable of the talents. And I thought, I've taught this story many times and I've read it many times. I've even animated it. But I thought, I want to know a bit more. So I asked ChatGPT to explain to me this word talent Tell me what it means historically. How much was it worth? What would it be worth today? I need to understand a bit more. And I just had a conversation. And remarkably, it told me something that I didn't know. And I don't think anyone had ever told me. But let me explain to you what it told me. So a denarius is 1 day's wage. And in fact, some of Jesus' other parables talk about that. And so there on the screen, there's 128 denarii. Or if you look at the screen now, there are 6,000 denarii. And in fact, 1 talent is equal to 6,000 denarii. Now, what I hadn't appreciated, which ChatGPT explained to me, is that's 20 years of wages. So in the parable where it says, Jesus says the man gave 1 talent, 2 talents, and 5 talents, he's not talking about something small. He gave 20 years of wages, 40 years of wages, and 100 years of wages. Now, just think about that for a moment, that we often think the one that got 1 talent was a bit ripped off. You know, he just got 1 talent, and so he buried it. He obviously didn't do the right thing because the story explains that he was disobedient. But when you then understand this and say, hang on a sec, he was given 20 years of wages, and it changes what you understand of the parable when you understand the value of a talent. So I think it made me realize that we have been given a remarkable opportunity by God. Even if we're only given 1 talent, he's given us over and above what we can possibly imagine. And what are we going to do with the opportunities that he's given us? So that was something I learned from ChatGPT by asking a few questions. And then go and have a look at the AI Academy manual on Bible handling. And it's got all different ideas of prompts that you might want to ask a chatbot to be able to handle the Bible well. Now, all of those images that I've just shown you, as well as trying to explain Bible handling, were all made by generative art. And generative art is a little bit like a chatbot in that you ask a prompt. And now I will go to website if I can work out how to get there. Where has it gone? Here we go. So if I now go, there's a number of different ones. This one, I'll show you quickly. This is not a very good one, but it's free and you don't have to log in. And I only discovered it because I was training high school students a few weeks ago and then discovered at the school that they weren't allowed to sign in to anything. So I then had to find an AI art generator that was safe and that also didn't require signing in. So you can, I'll just put that in the chat and then you can try that. But you've got to go directly to that URL and then you can do exactly what I'm doing. So I could say, you know, a book on a table. And the other nice thing about this is it's actually very, very fast. It's not a fabulous designer, but it works. And I'll use it just very quickly because it's a very fast generator. But with any generative art, you are effectively just telling it what you want. You're not actually having a conversation with it in the same way that James mentioned with a chatbot. So with generative art, certainly all of these sites, you just simply say what you want. So I might say a dog. I'm just going to say a dog, okay? And that's going to kick us off. But then you need to start adding details to it. So then you might add an adjective. So I'm going to say a cartoon dog and then create a picture. And okay, that's where this one falls down a little bit. A 2D hand-drawn cartoon dog. And Okay, there we go. Got a little bit better. And this is quite limited. But then I might say a cartoon dog, and then I'm going to give it an idea of where it is. So something of the context. Sitting in a spaceship. So I've given an adjective. I've given the subject, the dog. I've given the context. And I might even add some more details into that. But also here, I've already said what I want, but if I go back to my dog and take that out, then I can also say, I'm going to say a cute dog sitting in a spaceship and then I give a style, watercolor, whoops, I can't spell, painting. So the more detail I give, the better I'm going to end up with a result. Or I can say in a coloring sheet. So that might, hopefully they'll give me something, okay, something black and white. So that's the principle of creating a generative art. It's just quite simply some adjectives, what you want, where they are, and in what style. So that's Magic Studio. If I go to one that's a little bit more elaborate, it's still very simple and you can still do a lot of images for free, is Microsoft Designer. And we can give the link to this. It's the same principle. I'm going to put in a prompt and then I'm going to hit create. In this instance, I can also change the size of it, which is very helpful. So now I'm going to create a wide. So maybe I want something for a video. And then I'm going to, I'll just find some of my prompts that I've written here somewhere. Okay, I've got way too many windows open. So I'm going to show you just very quickly. So let's say I'm looking at the story of after Easter, and I'll show you an illustration of this. All the stories of Jesus after Easter. So now I'm copying and pasting, and you'll see I've given more detail. So a playful stop motion, that's a kind of animation. Look, using a bottle cap and a plastic water bottle characters. Jesus and Peter by a beach fire with a found object diorama style. That's like a kid's creation, a project. An emotional moment made fun and inventive in childlike. Now you might go, how did I come up with that prompt? And the answer is I didn't. I asked the chatbot to come up with my prompt. And in fact, that's one of the best ways of generating prompts right now, is to ask a chatbot to create your prompt for you. And you can say to your chatbot, I'm using Microsoft Designer. I'm trying to illustrate this Bible story. I kind of like this style. Can you help me write a prompt? And so that's actually the prompt that ChatGPT wrote for me just before the call. And you can see there this sort of project-looking diorama, little model of Jesus and Peter. So it did what I asked, and it's not too bad. Or I might go to I could then, I'm not having a conversation, but I could then change certain aspects of this. So let me keep the Jesus and Peter by the beach fire, and I'm going to get rid of that style. And I did a training on Saturday here in Sydney, and I asked them for a style, and they said Barbie style. So like Barbie, as in the plastic doll. So I thought, wow, that's pretty crazy. But let's see what happens. A Bible story done in a Barbie style. So that's another way that you can do it. And I now use this to create stories for Bible lessons for my children all the time. So there you go, a kind of a Ken and Barbie doll style. So if I wanted that, or one of my other favorites and it's quite legal to do this, is to say in a Lego style, because Lego are actually very happy for you to promote their product. Don't put their logo on it, but it's quite valid to create a Lego style thing. And you'll see on the AI Academy a number of videos that we've made with Lego. So that's a great one to use. Let's just wait for that. But basically, the chatbot works, the generative art works by just creating a simple prompt and playing with ideas. And we find that actually with AI, this is a chance for your creativity to shine. And I find now that I wake up every morning with ideas. I go, oh, I must try that. Oh, I've got to try that song. I've got to do that image, or I've got to try something else. And in fact, I'm going to show you one of those very ideas in a PowerPoint. Sorry, let me just find this. I got way too many PowerPoints open. Here we are. So I knew that I had this call coming up. And so I thought I would try a number of different styles to be able to demonstrate to you on this call. And also I was asked to do a Bible lesson in my Sunday school. And it was after Easter, and we'd done the Easter story. And I thought, what am I going to do? And so I thought I'd look at the ascension of Jesus, where he says, be my witnesses. And we thought about what it meant to be a witness. You can download this whole PowerPoint from Mac 7 now. So these are 4 different witnesses, what it meant to the children. And then why did Jesus say, you be my witness? Now with this, I wanted to try 10 different styles. I asked the chatbot to help me work out all the times that Jesus appeared to people after the resurrection. And it listed out 10 times. And I did a double check, and actually some people say it was 9, some think it was 12. But I thought, okay, well, I can see the 10 times and I know what verses. And so then I thought, well, I'll try a different prompt each time, a different artistic style. And so first up, you've got with Mary, and I tried that style, which was a sort of cardboard cutout. I decided to do a bit of a Pixar style for the Emmaus Road, and then Jesus with his disciples in a kind of a messy children's book illustration style. And then I did a stop motion, a kind of model style with Thomas. He was the next story. And then a traditional kind of 2D drawing style of Jesus. And then there you go. That was my bottle, and with Peter and Jesus made out of water bottles. A Minecraft style. There's a Minecraft movie out now. It's a very popular computer game. And then a Lego style of Jesus appearing to 500 people. And then a sort of contemporary illustration style. And then finished off with a 2D cartoon style. So that was a little experiment to see, could I come up with different styles to tell my story? And it worked out pretty well, I think. And that's the power of generative art, to be able to illustrate things that maybe you weren't able to illustrate before. And I've done that with my children in Sunday school, where they've actually told me what style they want to see it in. And so we've kind of gone over Bible stories where they've created the generative art and being able to reinforce the story by seeing the Bible story in different styles. So that's been a very interesting way of using generative art. And if you have a look also on the AI Academy channel, on the YouTube channel, I did do quite a even more detailed video on generative art. You can have a look at that. And then a huge breakdown in the AI Academy manual on generative art and different styles that you could choose, a whole lot of different ideas that you might want to play with, and different ways that you could do Bible stories. And so that's gives a bit of a taste on generative art. And we're just about out of time. Sorry, I got something in my mouth. We're just about out of time, but are there any questions, Cherise or Alan, on the generative art?
I think largely people are dumbfounded, Si, with all of this creativity. But we do have just one in from Streetheart about seeing the different styles and appreciating that. Can you show the prompt that you used to generate one of them? So can you give an example with the process?
Yes, I can. So I tell you, and in fact, I'm going to go into this in a lot of detail next week, because what I found, I'm okay at writing prompts. I've been doing it now for 2 years, but what I now find is a chatbot helps me with that process. So with that particular 10 stories of Jesus, now I have to confess, I had the idea on Saturday morning and I had the lesson to deliver on Sunday morning. So I did use the chatbot to help me to source the 10 stories of Jesus and put them in chronological order for me. But then I said to the chatbot, you are a Pixar animator. Would you write me a prompt, a generative art prompt for each of these key stories with the main characters at the front? So I actually got it, and it then wrote me 10 prompts for each of the 10 stories. And as I often do, I looked at those, I tried some, I copied and pasted them. But then I thought, oh no, I think I want to try different styles. So then I said, okay, I've got 10 stories. I like what you've said that the stories are about, but could you give me 10 different art or animation styles in a list and give me them in bullet points? So then it gave me 10 different styles, and I used most of them. And then I said, okay, that's okay, but could you add this? I added the found objects, the water bottles. Could you do this? Could you do this? And then I said, now, here are 10 different art styles. Could you now write those prompts based on those 10 different art styles? And it gave me 10 different prompts for each of those different images. And then I copied and pasted those in. I wonder if I can find them. Let me just give me one. I think I do have them. So let me see if I can bring that up.
Simon really knows how to make a chatbot work for its money.
Yep. So here we are. Let me go back. So this is my whole chat with the, and by the way, I wrote a song and I ended up animating it all on Saturday. But let me see if I can find the prompts way up here. See, I had a very long conversation. So I'm still writing the song. Sorry, I wasn't going to show you this tonight, but anyway, there we go. All right. So this was the going through, telling me all the different stories. So that was very helpful. And then I asked it a bit more. Where are the prompts gone? Okay, what I then did, because actually ChatGPT is also very good at doing generative art as well. So I asked it to give me some ideas. And these are some of the images that ChatGPT gave me. And so I did that. And then I said, okay, here are the prompts. And it's going to be hard to move this down. Oh, it's going really fast. Puts it into this box. So there you go. So based on that process I just told you, the prompt was Pixar-style illustration of a Middle Eastern Jewish Jesus outside a stone tomb at dawn, smiling gently as he speaks with Mary Magdalene. A stone is rolled away, an angel is nearby. There are no Roman guards, lush garden in the background, warm orange and pink sky, historically accurate, first century Palestine, and etc., etc. So it wrote that whole prompt for me. And then I copied and pasted that into the generative art program. And in that case, I used Midjourney, which is a slightly more advanced and expensive AI. But this would work also in Microsoft Designer, like I've just told you. So that's an example of the process. So that chat, which I went back and forth, I did the image prompts, I asked it for a draft song, and I'll show you, if we have time at the end, I'll show you the song, and then I'm going to explain again how I did it next week. But it wrote the lyrics for me, and in each case, there was human creativity as well. I rewrote some of the prompts. I ended up rewriting most of the lyrics, but the chatbot gave me some really good ideas of how I could get the 10 stories into one song. But it all comes down to everything simple that we just showed you tonight, which is just asking a question and getting an answer. It's all about that. There's nothing more complicated. Everything that James did in the chatbot was just asking a question and then asking another question. With a generative art, it's just saying, what do you want? And be as detailed as you can. So it does take creativity and thought, but it also allows you to try things that you can't do. And I often see AI as being the gap. The things I can't do, I ask AI to do. So I actually have quite good ideas, but I can't always illustrate them. Or I'm quite creative, but I really can't paint. I've tried all my life. I just can't do it. But I can come up with an idea that I can ask ChatGPT to create for me. And then, as you'll see next week, then I can get it to animate it and turn it into a video, which is utterly mind-blowing, and create a song for it. So that gives you a little bit of a taste of a chatbot and generative art. So any questions? I can show the video if you'd like me to.
Why don't we wrap up with that, Si? So there's, I think we've covered the questions that were in the chat, but please jump in if you have got one. And folks, I know we're past the top of the hour, so if you do need to jump off, that's absolutely fine. Just the encouragement to let the learning adventure continue. So if you've not yet caught up with some of the AI Academy videos, then please go to the AI YouTube channel, and you can dig into all of this a little bit more there. And if you've not yet joined the WhatsApp group, we can put the link up again, but there's a link earlier in the chat. And so that's a great place where you can keep the questions going. We can learn together as a community. And of course, don't forget, next Thursday, we'll do a deep dive into the whole area of AI animation. But Si, why don't we wrap up with that little animation to finish, because it's so cool.
Yeah, let me hang on. I just got to share my sound. Just give me a moment. I'm going to get there by showing you some of the images that my children in Sunday school made of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. So this was fun making. And then some of the different AI art made for some of our kids' outreach. Next week, we'll think about this creating a song with Suno, which again is just simply putting in a prompt. And we're going to think about this generative video, particularly pics first, because it's very good at animation. And as you'll see here, it just takes a still image and makes it a moving image. And that's what you're going to see in the last video. So let's bring it all together. Oh, there, it's not there. Hang on a sec. Whoops. Give me 1 second. I got to find the video. Where'd it go?
You're doing great, Si.
Yeah, I know. Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is. Okay. I thought it was where it was, but it wasn't. So here we go. All right. So these are the 10 different images I showed you. Here's the song. Enjoy it. So all these 10 images turned into simple animations and set to a song.
10 times, 10 times, yes, at least 10 times. Jesus alive, please don't blink. Really, what do you think? 1, to Mary in the garden, Jesus came, standing behind her, calling her name. 2, the road to Emmaus, 2 men walked to his friends said, peace to you. As the Father sent me, I'm sending you too. 4, a week later with Thomas full of doubt, touch my hands! And Thomas cried out. 5, at the shore of the lake, a fire blazed, a haul of fish, the disciples amazed. 10 times, 10 times, yes, at least 10 times. Jesus alive, it is crazy. Keep listening and don't be lazy. 6, Peter, he asked, do you love me? Times 3, feed my sheep, Peter, follow me. 7, on a mountain, he told him his vision. Go make disciples, the Great Commission. 8, to the crowd of 500 or so, he showed he's alive so that all would know. 9, to his brother James, Jesus came, and James believed was never the same. 10, on the Mount of Olives got their attention. He blessed them all, then did the ascension. Do the walk 10 times, 10 times, yes, at least 10 times. Jesus alive, it's totally true. Now go and tell he is with you. Go to the world, the Spirit will guide. Tell the good news with me at your side. Go, go, go!
Si, I think you have way too much fun.
But that's all very possible. You can do that. And come next week if you want to learn a few more tips. But it, all done on in a few hours on a Saturday. So there you go. It's all possible. It's mind-boggling. So
Amazing.
yeah.
Well, huge thanks to our team today. Thanks to everyone for joining us. We look forward to seeing some of you on the deep dive into AI animation next week. But go forth, be fruitful, and have fun.
Thanks, everybody. God bless.
Thank you, everyone. See you next time.
God bless.